Hello and welcome to Business Talks. I am your host, Lonna Smith, and today we are going to be talking about creating a space for your business, your corporation, your home business. We're going to be talking about what that space means with your workflow and how you feel in it. And we have an amazing professional. Welcome Fernando Jauretche from Freeform Interiors. And he is here today to share with us. He has a new project that's coming out. But first, we're going to talk about how he became passionate about creating space for businesses. I don't think I'm saying it as well as you will, but anyways, welcome, Fernando. And we want to get to know you. So you are in interior design. Is that a safe way to put it?
I'd say we're in commercial furnishings. So we work
Okay.
with designers. We have our own designers that help implement design intent of architects, designers, or clients. So we're definitely in both worlds. We're a furniture dealer. We provide commercial interiors products, and we help assist in designing spaces. Yep.
So give me an example of a large corporation, not by name, but like the space size. What's the largest space size that you've been a part of?
Well, I'll tell you exactly. The largest project we've done recently that I'm very proud of is the new Catalyst building that was built by McKinstry and Avista for Eastern Washington University, and we furnished all 4 floors of that, ranging from classrooms to common spaces to offices.
Wow.
And that was a great challenge and a rewarding project to be part of something so groundbreaking.
So when you walk into a space, I'm getting ahead of myself, but now
Yeah.
I have, when you walk into a space, do you immediately start placing furniture? Is that how
Yeah,
you, I mean, is it like when you walk in, when you're house shopping, if you walk into the right house, you start putting your couch somewhere and your TV. Is it the same way when you walk into a space to create a space? Do you start seeing it?
Yeah, I would say a puzzle starts coming together, right?
Yeah.
And the puzzle of a space is what needs to function here, and are the right pieces in place for that to happen.
So this is kind of an unusual career. It's not something you hear about every day. So what motivated your passion? What started that fire for you?
Yeah, it was really kind of random how I fell into it. Most people in my business either are born into it, they have a family member that was into it, or they just stumble upon it and end up in it. And that's the path I took. So I was dissatisfied in the career field that I was in. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I started taking temp assignments just to get exposure to different companies. I ended up landing at this very small commercial furniture provider in Fresno, California, long ago, and I was just doing odds and ends things, purchasing, order coordinating, and it really hooked me because my past was I've always been a builder. I've loved woodworking. I took some drafting classes. I'd considered architecture. I've always been very visual. I did great in geometry, terrible in algebra. So putting things together visually and building things and kind of solving problems has always kind of tickled my interest. And I soon found that through the use of furniture, you can build a solution with all these pieces like Legos to craft a solution to a problem that an employer or an organization is having. And so to kind of develop that passion working in it, so I worked my way up in 23, maybe 24 years in the industry now from that entry level position. I did space planning design positions. I did project management positions. I was in sales. I eventually went to work for a manufacturer. I got to see the manufacturing side, and that kind of primed me, gave me the whole picture of our industry. And I got to work with principals and owners of furniture dealers, and it gave me the perfect kind of background to then dive into ownership of a commercial furnishings dealer here in Spokane. And we were talking earlier about kind of divine occurrences, and I really hadn't been exposed much to Spokane until the opportunity with the company that I bought presented itself, and I couldn't think of a better place to raise my family. So I packed them all up, and we drove here over 2 days and settled in Spokane without knowing anyone, and we couldn't be happier.
And how long have you been in the Spokane area?
So 3 years now.
3 years.
Yep.
From California.
Yep.
Good timing. That's all I have to say.
I was probably trying to get out earlier, but
Yeah.
this was the right opportunity for us.
That's great. And how does your family love Spokane?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Are you outdoors people?
We are.
Yeah.
We've spent so much time fighting the crowds, trying to get to Tahoe to experience some mountains and lakes, and here they are in our backyard. So,
Yes.
and we love it year round.
We are blessed
Yes.
to live in this area.
Totally.
It's incredible.
Yep.
So we had talked about that passion that you have, and you, before we started taping, but you said, if you could share this, everybody needs to hear this, about what drives your passion to do this in a workplace, why that's important. Some people just look at an office as furniture, right? It's just a tangible piece of equipment that you use. But I'm a firm believer that your space either motivates you or it doesn't. It is comfortable or it isn't. And I know for me, my space. But for you in this industry, what is it why do you think it's so important to go in and personalize an office space?
Right. I feel strongly that our environment shapes our attitude, our mindset, our productivity, whether it's your home environment, your car, if you spend a lot of time in a car, or your workplace. And I've seen my fair share of workplaces in 20-something years, and there's really no exception to the rule. You know, if you work in a depressing space, there's not a lot of energy going on there. And if you work in a cool space, there's definitely a lot of positive energy in there. And, you know, I get maybe too emotionally attached to the companies that I work with, and I want them to be successful. So it kind of kills me inside a little bit when they cheap out and don't want to do the best solution for a space, because I know that the best solution is something that's inspiring, that's dynamic, that engages their people. And when people are inspired and engaged, you know, they produce better work, and then the organization thrives.
It's very true. And the last, year and a half, we faced this challenge with COVID, and many people working remotely. So many offices shut down and some offices open back up. What are you finding with that in your industry as far as people working remotely?
Yeah, so changes, there is no single answer to that question. Companies have addressed that in vastly different ways. I've both been a part of trying to decommission a space, which means to take all the furniture out and dispose of it, or find a home for it. Decommissioning 3 floors in one of the towers in Spokane because a company that had a large workforce decided they were all going to work from home. And then on the other side, I've had companies that said, hey, we need to respond to this new priority placed on well-being, or on making the space more engaging. Because now I think employers are feeling pressured, or at least the smart employers that see what's going on are reading the tea leaves that, hey, employees are a lot more empowered now. There's a work shortage. There's this great resignation coming. And there's this war for talent that if I don't have a space that people want to come to, it's going to be that much harder to retain talent. It's going to be that much easier for my competitors to take them away. So if I'm not focused on my space, and if I don't give them a choice of some kind of flexible work environment, then I'm going to lose talent. And so those employers that have their ear to the ground are not going to mandate you have to be here every day. But if they can create a space that people want to be in, and then give the employees choice, say, hey, you choose if you want to be here 1 to 5 days a week, but I'm going to make my workplace so cool, so inviting, that you're going to want to be here more than you're at home. You're going to be at home on your kitchen counter wishing that you had access to our new coffee bar or our cool lounge, or to be able to engage with coworkers in kind of an interesting and dynamic space. So that's where the trend is going. There's a greater emphasis on those collaborative spaces. The studies show that the reason to come to the workplace is other people. It's either to meet clients, it's to be seen by your superiors, or it's to interact with colleagues. There is a concern that the hybrid workers, the ones working from home that don't have the regular interaction with their superiors, are going to lose out in promotions opportunities to those that do regularly interact with their superiors. So there's a lot of dynamics, and we're slowly seeing them play out as now we go into our second year of this kind of remote working environment. And there's a lot of challenges with the home working environment. Who's responsible for making sure that that's ergonomic and people don't sustain repetitive stress injuries working from home because there aren't professionals setting up those home spaces, right? Management of remote workers is a challenge. So there's definitely a lot of challenges with the home work environment. And I don't know if the answer is everybody come to work, because now that people have felt that freedom and flexibility, they're not going to let it go easily. And if you try to force them to, you're going to lose your good people.
And what you're saying is provide an environment where they want to be.
Exactly.
But that's one piece of the pie, right?
That's always been the case.
Yeah.
If you look at Silicon Valley office spaces, which they've been competing for the best talent for years, and they've always been the model for the cool work environment. Well, that's filtering down to everyone else. If you don't have the cool work environment, if you're not responsive to the needs, and that means different things to different people, right? A cool work environment is different to a group of lawyers than it is to a group of programmers, right? So what is it that your employees want and need and value, and are you providing that?
Well, and you said you've been doing some reading, and you actually had some statistics about the COVID employee remote working relationship. Do you want to share some of what you discovered?
Yeah. The last national statistics was something like half the workforce was working from home a significant amount of time, and then when they asked them how many wanted to continue that, it was only about a third. So it tells us that more people want to come back than want to work remote. I always when we go through the myriad of reasons of why they want to be back in the office, most of them have to do with people. Like, they could do the heads down work at home, but they want to go to the office for that personal connection. There's a small minority that want to go to work to focus, but I think those are all the parents that maybe have kids at home. But other than that, I think most people can focus at home better than in the workplace. So a hybrid environment makes sense for those people.
It does. And I do believe that the isolation factor for those working from home, at first it sounded really great. And then the longer it went on, the more isolated you were. And, I've noticed that in our organization is you just don't have the synergy. The communication obviously isn't as effective. It doesn't flow the same between a text, an email, even a Zoom call. There's that disconnect. You have a screen between you. So bringing our employees back into a workspace is super important, I think, for those business corporations, as they're, like you said, they're finding out. My guess would be, as far as the economics of building a space like what you're talking about, it sounds like we think if we do that it's going to be a lot out of pocket and of small benefit, but you've found that is entirely not true. Is that correct?
Yeah, companies make investments in productivity all the time, but it's hard to measure the productivity of a space. It's easy to see, like, if I get this new software, if I, get this new equipment, that my people are going to be able to produce more work, but it's hard to put a number on. If I have a space that's more engaging, that people are going to work better, or how do you measure that I've retained good people? You don't know if they're going to leave, or that's part of the reason that factored into a decision for a star employee to join your company. Right? Those are really things that are hard to measure. I think ultimately what a space says to employees, it says how much the owners or the principals of the space care about the employees indirectly, because if an employee is going to put more money into the space around them, it tells them this. So it's almost part of your benefits package, right? You get healthcare, you get insurance, you get a lot of things that show. You get vacation time, how much employees care about people, but also, did they give you a really nice, comfortable chair, or did they cheap out? I mean, the difference between Office Depot chair and a top end chair is maybe $500, between the low end and the high end. And over the course of how many years, what difference does that really make to an employee except for how much they care about their personal comfort, right? So a company that buys a really good ergonomic chair and then invests in the rest of the space says something about how much the employer cares about their employees' well-being.
I can see that. So really, it is cost effective
Right.
because you are promoting employee satisfaction, like you said, retention. People want to be there. It seems like a win-win.
Yeah, and there's ways to do it somewhat cost effectively. You're never going to be able to furnish a workplace, a professional workplace to a high quality on an IKEA budget, but you also don't have to do everything in wood veneer and gold plating.
Plastic.
So
Plastic and
there's
wood
definitely-
veneer.
Yeah, there's definitely ways to do it at different price points. It's really, it just takes a collaborative effort between the principals of the space, an employee representative, a furnishings professional, an architect, a designer, and you can come together and create an engaging space at virtually any budget. Sometimes, just some paint and reuse, some reupholstery of existing things is all it takes, but it takes the will and a team of professionals to pull it off. Some people will try to do it, themselves with some things that they've seen on, online or in other spaces. But I think the art of putting together a nice workplace is underrated because we design our own home and we think, well, I designed, my living room really nicely. I can design a 5,000 square foot space. There's a lot more complexity and a designer's touch that it takes to make a big space that is a workplace work that, is more challenging than making a nice home.
Do you see anything trending? Do you see any trends with right now with changing or refurbishing or a brand new workspace? Is there anything trending?
Yeah, I see a lot of trends. I see trends change from colors to shapes to just how places are furnished. So the latest trends, obviously, the first trend was more space and separation. So that's reconfiguring spaces to allow more area between people, different types of dividers to create more separation. That was the first obvious change. And then what started coming along were colors that you would normally see like hospitals have been designing with color for wellness for a long time. Soft colors, approachable, calming, and so we're seeing those in office designs. I think people want to make people feel secure and calm. For a long time, modern workplaces had square corners everywhere. Couches, square corners, tables, square corners. And in this, I just got back from a trade show where manufacturers launch all their new products for the year. It's in Chicago, and all the new furniture was all rounded. It had very soft corners and a lot of circles and rounded corners and very approachable and soft, mixed with these kind of calming colors. And so that was the latest trend. So separation and calming spaces.
Did you like that? Did you like the rounded corners on the furniture?
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was it achieved its intent, which is to be a place where people feel comfortable. I think they're responding to people are nervous or on edge. There's so much bad news out there, and we want to come back to the workplace, but we want to feel safe, and so the furnishings reflect that need.
It's amazing. Like I love when I learn doing this show, and probably like a lot of the population, they don't understand that correlation to a great work environment and productivity and the energy and just the positive aspect of having a space that people, like you said, want to be in. I think everybody, I would hope all employers would take a look at that and say, my staff is important enough to me that we want to make these changes and make this a place where they want to be. And it's part of the package when you're choosing where to work is you want to know what that space is and the attitudes. And I think it creates a whole package for people. You are starting a new project or in the midst of a new project. Do you want to share just a little bit? Because I'm going to hold you over if you're okay with that. And we're going to do a second show because you're going to want to hear this. So just tease the audience, let them know what this project that you are in the process of doing.
Talk about the one with Spokane Fox.
No.
Okay, all
Oh,
right.
talking about, no.
My. Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Creating, yeah.
So yeah, so we are wrapping up our new showroom. So we're over by the landing of the new Gateway Bridge in the University District. We're behind the Masonry Center, and we have a beautiful space. It's big, it's open, high ceilings, and we moved in there 2 years ago, kind of on a shoestring budget. We had a really high TI, and now we've totally remodeled it to demonstrate the what I'm saying about the changed workplace post COVID, the separation, the addressing employee wellness. We've put all those kind of spaces that we think are relevant in a post-COVID workplace. We've put them into our new showroom, and so we're pretty much have it complete. We've started doing some private grand opening tours with some select partners in our community, architects and designers and clients, and I'm excited to be able to show it off because it's a beautiful space, and it's one thing to hear us talk about what a workplace needs. It's another thing to be able to walk in and see it in person, and it really makes it connects and makes sense. I'll give you a small example. So we have I'm calling it the Zoom living room, not officially, it might be trademarked. Don't sue me. So we have our Zoom living room, and the idea behind a Zoom living room is it's actually very much like this. So most workplaces don't have a meeting space that feels like a home space. This kind of feels like a home space. We've got a coffee table, we've got some couches, and this would be, the TV with a camera where we might Zoom with people working from home. Well, the reason we created the Zoom living space because if traditionally all of our customers have a boardroom or a meeting room that looks very corporate, looks very structured, and that's where they're teleconferencing with workers from home. Well, there's inequity of spaces across the Zoom line between the home environment and the work environment. And that person at home might be wearing pajamas on the bottom, and they're sitting in their kitchen or bedroom or wherever they've chosen to work at home.
Yeah.
And the other people they're dressed up. They had a film in the back of their head, and they're there at work, ready to work. And so the psychological effect is that person is not on equal footing as the
True.
people in the corporate environment. And so by creating a residential feeling conference space, now when that person zooms in and sees another place that looks like their space that they're in, it lowers the barrier to interaction because now there's more equality in the two spaces. So we talked earlier about collaboration being a big impetus for people to return to the workplace. There's so many different types of collaboration that needs to happen, and so this residential space creates a certain type of feel. Sometimes you want that formally structured conference room. If you've got some executives and you want people to watch what they say, you don't want them to speak freely, you want them to think about what they say, then you want a professional, structured environment. But let's say that you're brainstorming with your creative people. Well, now you want them to loosen up and feel open, and so now that requires a different type of environment. We were talking about environment affecting our behavior. That's also true in collaborative spaces. So our showroom shows all sorts of collaborative spaces, from the structured to the unstructured to the Zoom living room, and you have to see it to really have it make sense. And another piece is we have a big open kitchen because we feel like the place where people go to eat needs to be open to the office. It needs to be a collaborative space because it's been proven that people that eat together form deeper connections than people that don't. And so if you're going to be in the office, don't block the break room away off in a corner where people go to hide. Have it be a part of a dynamic, engaging office, and you can deal with the noises and smells by other means other than walls. There's air purifiers, there's sound absorption. There's a reason that sometimes some type of people like to go to like a Starbucks to get work done. They want that buzz, they want to drink coffee, they want that environment of a cafe. And why have your people leave to go find that? Why not create that space that creates that buzz and that communal sharing of beverages and food created in your space? And we try to do that in our open kitchen plan inside of our showroom.
So this is really the psychology It's psychology.
And I am a psychology major, actually.
Oh, you are. So
Minor,
that's
sorry,
a
minor.
perfect,
Yeah, business major,
but perfect
psychology minor,
marriage. Yeah, the psychology, which many of us as employers or we don't think about the psychology of the space at all, but it makes complete sense. So we're gonna close this show. Will you stick around for another segment?
Love to.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us, and we're going to come back with a part 2 with Fernando and talk about this new space and more about the psychology with with corporations and businesses, and how that engages your employees, especially in this time when people are looking for
New
talent. Yeah, new employees and talent. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you again on Business Talks. I am Lonna Smith.
The world has changed a lot in 50 years, and Kimley Haygood has changed with it. We still provide our customers with the highest level of service, whether it's financing, construction management, property management and maintenance, leasing, or sales. Our team is here to help you make the best decisions with your real estate.